I should dovetail quite nicely into Lynn's talk, because I'm also talking about the role of honours and the difference between honours as a final year and honours in other models. Working on the capstones research, I went around the sector and talked to people who were delivering capstones in various models, and one of the first questions I was asked is, what's the difference between a capstone and an honours year? And it's a very difficult question to answer. The more that I discovered about the way capstones are delivered, the harder that question got. So what we know is that capstones are very diverse. They're diverse in length. Some of them are 6 weeks, and they run up to a year in total. They may be an accumulated portfolio of work that's operating quite differently. There are different types. They might be projects, they might be simulations, they might be placements with an academic supervision component. Some of them are quite compressed competition events and sit outside of the curriculum. The delivery varies. They might be individually supervised, they might be independent projects where students go away and then rock up 6 weeks later, as a bit like the sandwich year, saying here's the thing that I've been doing. Or they might be delivered as a normal class with anywhere between 2 students to, I think the biggest one we found was 3,000, and that was at Curtin. And certainly my experience is of delivering them up to 300 students at a time. The capstones have been in place anywhere between a year. We found a lot, currently almost a tsunami of capstones being put in place now, but they've been around for 10 years or more in many disciplines. Around 89% of them are project-based, and here is where the question starts to get a little bit more tricky. Most of those projects are structured as inquiry, and bear a lot of the hallmarks of what we'd expect a research project to look like, even if they're not called research project. If they're client projects, they involve the same kinds of processes very often. So background review, identification of a problem, data collection and planning for an extended piece of work, analysis and reporting, very often disseminated reporting. We found a lot of examples of symposia, mini conferences, poster sessions, journal papers being produced by students, and a lot of those have been in place for a very long time. As we went through the process, we also found that coordinators were increasingly questioning whether or not their students should go on to honours. When we asked them about, is this preparing students for postgraduate study or for honours as a 4th year, they said, well, not really. This is about preparing students to leave the university or to go on and do PhD study. So they jumped that gap. They'd assumed that honours wasn't necessarily going to be the next step. In the UK, honours are embedded as a final year project, and McHealy's work shows that those projects extend from the kind of pure research projects that we'd expect at honours to work-based projects, design projects, things developing practical applications. In the US, honours is more typically an accommodation of the strength of the student. So students are selected to do an honours program within their undergrad study, albeit often within the 4th year in a 4-year degree. Elsewhere, Germany has non-embedded, but Australia seems to be the most consistently attached to this separate year. And the question arises, when so few students are going on to do this separate year, are we really providing the best opportunity for students to undertake and understand the research process and the generic skills that come from that process if we leave it until honours? So my question is, should honours be a separate year still? Is it still working for us? Should we be rethinking and considering honours as a reflection of the calibre of the student? Or is the honours program, that separate year, still working for us and really the way that Australian higher education operates? Still the norm, still operating well. Thank you.